About 20 messages now that have left the stream, and they're saying, is there a different link?
No, same link, so they should be ready to go.
So hang on, let me send it again. Okay. You know people's impatience is shit, like.
Oh yeah, no, I know.
So.
But that should be streaming now.
We get more replays than live anyway.
We're live, pal. Sid Vicious.
This just lets me know that Derek's concerts never start on time.
Concerts never start on time, dude. Ever. It's like rule one. So yeah, we should be live. Just gonna check the restream.
You just tell me when to go.
Yeah.
We're good?
Hold on, 1 second. Once I get the okay from restream, we're good. This is why we need millions of dollars. This is why people need to give us money so we can do it better.
Well, people can't see us talking now, obviously.
No one can see us at all now because there's a thing playing beforehand.
Can people see us on YouTube, or?
People can just see the thing that's playing.
So they can't actually see us? No.
Not yet, no.
You let me know when we're good to go officially live.
Definitely will.
You're obviously going to be able to see our faces as well.
Oh yeah.
That's the unfortunate part.
Okay, so...
Gonna give me the thumbs up, aren't you?
Yeah. Come on, stream. Yep, okay, so I'm going to hit the intro and then I'll tell you when to come in.
Okay.
Okay, folks, we're live.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to a brand new show as we join you today from the dark. I'm your host. My name is Ian Kelly from the Dynamo's Dozen podcast, and I'm joined by my team of Dara O'Connor from the Nerd to Know Media Network and Dave Stevens, host of the Wrestling Rewind, also on the Nerd to Know Media Network. And if you're joining us here on YouTube or Twitch, be sure to hit that button, the like button, and subscribe, and you can watch all future shows. So guys, first show, welcome David, welcome Dara, and welcome everyone and all. So today we're obviously here to speak about everything UFO and ufology, and obviously I hope everybody at home has sat back, had a big old hit of whatever it is that you need, and enjoy the show. How are you guys?
Yeah, looking forward to it. Apologise to everybody for the slight delay, but yeah, getting this, when you're talking about conspiracies, technical issues are bound to happen. So if we go down, that's why.
100% right. And I mean, hey, I'm not currently abducted that I'm aware of, unless this virtual podcast world is an abduction. Who knows? So I think I'm doing all right.
We'll just always blame the Clintons. It's easy.
I don't want to die, Ian. Right now,
trying to stay alive, mate.
Exactly. For now, we are not suicidal. We do not want to kill ourselves. Just so everybody's aware of that. We're bringing up the Clintons.
If we're not seen within 72 hours, call somebody.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Exactly. And if there's any tigers found near my house, I swear somebody fed me to them.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like you're the American guy. I'm in Ireland. I'm pretty okay with the tiger thing, so I think we'll be all right there. But definitely, if David goes missing and you see a tiger around anywhere, be sure to help a guy out. Like,
You know what happened. But just so anyone knows, if they're in the chat, be it Twitch or YouTube, just, you know, we're able to see it. So any thoughts you have, anything you want to add to the conversation, please do, and we'd love to get your feedback. So we said we'd start things off with a fun topic, lads. One that's not as controversial as other ones that exist. And you know, we probably will put up a poll for next month's show. Like at the moment we're thinking about time travel, but we'll kind of see. But this is all about UFOs and extraterrestrials. So
yep.
we have a kind of, we're going to run through the gambit of them, and we do have a lot to get through. But yeah, this was a lot of fun, Ian. So fair play for recommending this one.
Yeah, I figured.
Sorry.
Go ahead, David.
These are the kinks we have to work out. First show, guys. We'll figure it out. It's funny you say that this is the least controversial. This is also possibly the most controversial, and could be, in fact, defining every single aspect of our society on a daily basis, for all we know. So, is this the least? Is this the most? Is this fact? Is it conspiracy? I don't know, guys. Let's find out.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, when we look at it, let's dive in actually, because when we look back to like the first reported sightings of UFOs, or whatever you want to call it, because technically that's what they are, UFOs. It's an unidentified flying object. That's where the term comes from. But people have, I guess, culture and time has kind of labeled that idea as being a conspiracy theorist, or whatever you want to call it, or being a crackpot, or, you know, tin hat wearer, whatever it may be. But let's look at the facts. I think that's the best way to start, and look back to you know, the first sightings. We even go back to pre-20th century, which is the best way to do it, because a lot of people always think of the here and now and don't look back on the history of it. I mean, one of the first recorded and documented sightings was actually in 1440 in ancient Egypt, by a guy called Thule Papyrus. I hope I've done his name justice. In the scribes of the pharaoh Thutmose III, reported fiery discs spotted in the skies. So these are actual scriptures going back to 1440. And then obviously, you know, there's so many sightings that came in between that period. I mean, millions upon millions. But then we get to, I guess, where we are now, and the best place to start, which is, in the grand scheme of things, not that long ago, but in our lifetime, it's forever ago. We go back to 1947, June the 14th, when a rancher, William Brazel, working on J.B. Foster Ranch, he noticed clusters of metallic debris from approximately, I think it was like 30 miles away, 50 kilometers north of Roswell in New Mexico. A lot of different verifying accounts to that story, varying accounts, should I say, to that story. And, you know, not all of them seem to be true, but that seems to be the base of the story, you know. He then, apparently, Mr. Brazel then delivered debris to Sheriff George Wilcox. Wilcox contacted Colonel Butch Blanchard, the commander of the Roswell Army Airfields of the 509th Composite Group. And Wilcox goes through the higher training command, sends the debris to General Roger W. Ramey, commander of the 8th Air Force in Fort Worth, Texas. Blanchard also sends Jesse Marcel, an intelligence officer from base to investigate as well. So a lot of people will kind of be going, right, he's just naming names here, but the real fact that I want to get to here, and the real name that I want to get to here, is Jesse Marcel, because I think this is where we get to the nuts and bolts of the story. Jesse Marcel obviously was with the guy that we'll see right there in the picture, holding up the debris. So I guess that was a good kind of starting place for us, guys. Obviously, there we go. That was the first news report that was put out that there was a flying saucer actually captured in Roswell. And a couple of days later, bear in mind, that was taken away, and it turned from a flying saucer to an air blimp.
An air
a
balloon.
weather balloon,
A weather
weather balloon, yeah.
Which seems to be the biggest. I think that is the official narrative, that it was like an air balloon.
Yeah, it is. It is 100%. Even if you go on Wikipedia now, the Roswell incident is the day that a weather balloon crashed, and hysteria followed. So it is a good place to start, guys, purely because in terms of just the story getting to a point, beyond any return, I guess, this is where we are. It's 1947 in June. Literally, the anniversary will be coming up in a month. Actually, one day off the month. Yeah, it's the 15th of May right now. So 14th of June, that will be an anniversary for Roswell. So, guys, in terms of how you see it, and obviously we can kind of digress and we can segue within this one, but in terms of how you see it, the Roswell incident, I know, David, you have kind of educated yourself pretty well on that subject in terms of what really was found, what was hidden. What do you think about the whole thing?
Oh man, it's tough because I look at a physicist like Stanton Friedman, who really put a lot of effort into making this a public story and to get out into the general population, and his really brazen efforts on it. And then I question things. I at the end of the day, I would say the Roswell incident, perhaps more than anything else, makes me infuriated. And I'll explain why. Because as a US citizen, you guys are all in Ireland and whatnot, but as a US citizen, this is probably, it's been going on for since the beginning of our country was founded, but this was really the first time that our eyes were open to the fact that not only will the government lie to us, they will knowingly lie, they will throw multiple lies at a story, and they will deceive you to no end. It's funny, Roswell to me may be the least substantiated UFO story, even though it sparked then the pop culture UFO thing that came out of it. But here's where I would smush it down to its very core. When you talk disinformation, when you talk the early days of the OBC or the CIA, what have you, it's modus operandi that still exists today. What do you do when something weird happens? If it's a military experiment, whatever, you put out two conflicting stories at essentially the exact same time. They put out this outlandish, oh, we had aliens and we had these flying saucers. And then you also put out, oh, we had a weather balloon, or they even kept us going into the 90s. Well, actually, it was nuclear testing balloons for the Soviets. Well, here's the thing. I think it's a classic case of disinformation. I think it's a classic case of what was going on at that time if you put yourself back into that time period. You mentioned, of course, someone integral to it, and it was actually his son, Junior, who they made the replica that you find of the craft that has like the, for lack of a better term, hieroglyphics on it. It's like a bar and the metal that you couldn't melt and all these things that go into it. And man, I feel like, Mulder over here, like I want to believe I do, but to me, this is the government. This is the government disinformation at its finest, and at a time when there was nobody to argue against official stories. And I think that's my takeaway from it.
What about you, Dara? Because it's actually really interesting points that you make there, because obviously it's one of the first, I guess, high-profile cases of government cover-up, possibly as well.
Right. Like, even if it was a UFO, they still covered it up with multiple stories. Exactly. So regardless of what the true story is, it's evidence that the government will lie to its people and will cover things up in the interests of national security. And we know how that's gotten us in the 21st century.
Definitely even before, like, there was the narrative, there was 2 or 3 different narratives that even conflicted with itself. So yeah, that's a very good point, Dave.
Yeah, I think so, because purely based on what David said there, which I think is the real problem. It's government telling you the truth or lies.
Hmm.
But I mean, that's probably another podcast for another day.
Exactly.
But it is very prevalent in this particular narrative that we are trying to tell. I think personally, I mean, obviously everybody wants to believe. I mean, people want to believe in the Loch Ness monster. People want to believe in Bigfoot. People want to believe in you know, happiness, everything, you know. But the real fact of the matter is that we have a situation here where this isn't the first, and a lot of media do try to portray that this is kind of what spun ufology, and that's incorrect, and that's why I wanted to start off the show with the fact that there's been millions upon millions of reported sightings going back as far as 1440. Sorry, Darren, go ahead.
So I do actually want to talk about a few of those in a bit when we go back to it, but we'll keep it in the 20th century for a bit. What I find is interesting, there's two big ones that get overlooked but are starting to kind of be more well known in the 20th. Actually, there's loads of them, to be honest with you. And you know, this would even surprise some people who aren't as familiar with this. But one big one, right, is the whole Foo Fighter thing during World War II. Like these, and like these could be experimental Nazi ships. We don't know, but you know, they just appeared. And you know, they were photographed by the bomber crews. I think it was the Allies that photographed them during World War II. Then there was the Battle of Los Angeles, where
are you telling me it's not just a band?
No, it's not just a band. This is where the name came from. Yeah, but yeah,
and I thought Battle of Los Angeles was an album as well from a band.
So. Exactly. Yeah. Well, it is. It's Rage Against the Machine. But Battle of Los Angeles. This was when there was thousands of anti-aircraft rounds fired, like a full-scale battle for these unidentified aerial craft. Now, again, could they be Nazi ships like the V-1 rockets or something like that? Yeah, possibly. Were they? I don't know. But these were two huge ones that happened during World War II. That, you know, I think it was a lot easier to control information there, and they probably didn't want people realizing, oh God, you know, the Nazis have this kind of stuff. And then a couple of years later, we'd have the V1 and V2 rockets. So, you know, I'd be willing to believe that's what they were. And of course, then it goes further into pop culture now, where you have Nazis and UFOs as a subgenre of schlock movies. So yeah, you know, they're two ones that stick out to me as there is precedent for this kind of stuff.
Well, absolutely. And I don't think we can if we're just going to bring up the subject in Nazis and UFOs always lead into like 0 point energy and all that kind of stuff. I mean, there's no way we can escape mentioning Die Glocke or the Nazi bell, as it's more popularly known.
Oh, the Nazi bell. Yeah, of course.
And of course. And to most people I'm assuming if you're tuning into this, you have a cursory understanding. Otherwise, welcome. Good luck.
Welcome. Yeah, the Nazi bell is pretty crazy. So, Dave, I'm gonna get a picture of Die Glocke so people can kind of see it. I'm gonna bring it up so everyone can have a look. Because this is wild, guys. Welcome to the proper conspiracy.
Now we're just going full force. And this was something that I don't know if Nick Cook wrote a book about it. Joseph Farrell, who I love, if you can find him on YouTube.
Joseph Farrell is we're going to mention some more. We're going to mention some authors during this and some points to jump off. Joseph Farrell is your person to read when it comes to the bell. He's written pretty much everything on zero energy and anti-grav technology and absolute wild stuff.
Yeah, if you want to get maybe one day we'll do a podcast on the Nazi International, because that'll blow.
I would also, but I want to bring it. I'd like to throw a name as well just into that, in terms of who was written the book. Obviously, the day after Roswell, Colonel Philip J. Corso, very, very reputable, high end colonel within the U.S. military. That was actually. He was positioned as the guy to lead the evacuation from where the crash happened back to base. I think it was Nevada. Am I correct in saying that, David? It was somewhere in Nevada.
Roswell's New Mexico, but yeah.
Yeah, but that's where they took the bodies in the crates.
Because they took it to Wright-Patterson. But one of the things that's worth mentioning that I kind of skipped over when we were talking about the Roswell incidents, people always go, why Roswell, New Mexico? This seems like an insignificant location. I know, but what people fail to realize is that at that time, in the entirety of the globe, was the only place with an active nuclear squadron.
Sure.
So you want to know why something weird crashes and why does the government jump all over it and try and figure out why it was? Well, what are we being spied on? What's happening? Like, that is a very, very important fact that a lot of people don't even think about.
David, I just want to mention that there's two things above your head right now as well that could be looking at you. It's just
I may not make it through the podcast.
It's okay though. It's okay because I've told you within the 78. What? How many hours did we say? 74 or 72? If it gets above 70, someone make a phone call. But it is true. I mean, well, on that point, where is the right place to crash land? Also, you know what I mean. But very much so, I agree. People always ask the question, why are UFOs seen in the likes of Chile or seen in the likes of, Mexico? It's always around bases, and it's always within the jurisdiction, I guess, of an army base of some sort. Which, if you can't kind of figure why that is, I don't really know what to tell you. But it's like I'm just gonna segue as well, because we said we'd try and keep it on Roswell, and we will, because there's other incidents also that we have to talk about. But I think the reason I brought up the Colonel Philip J. Corso one was because, like I said, he's somebody that is super respected within the military world, only until he brought out the book, and then the book tried to ruin his credentials. But this man is filmed, I believe some of his videos are still on YouTube. The last time I tried to find it, I couldn't. But there is a great interview with Colonel Philip J. Corso on YouTube, speaking about what he's seen in the crates of what were picked up at the crash site of Roswell. And it certainly wasn't weather balloon debris. It was he said, I think his exact quotes were, the hands looked like the hands of a small child, but the head was too big to be a child. That's what he said. He thought it was actually, kids that had, obviously been hurt or killed in this particular accident, and thought it was a tragedy initially. But obviously within his job title, it wasn't to question anything. It was just get A to B to C, And it's a really, really interesting book, The Day After Roswell, because he goes in depth. And I know his son, Mr. Corso Jr., is a big kind of advocate. And the great thing about it is, actually, he goes into some serious talk about, seeing the crafts in real life, seeing the beings, should we say, in real life. So I mean, it's if you think this is all bullshit, that's fine, that's okay, but it's really interesting. It's really interesting to listen to.
Well, and even fits into the whole Bob Lazar story when he was supposedly reverse engineering at stuff not at Area 51 like most people assume, but slightly off course at SR4 or R4, whatever, S4,
within the area.
Right, we're within the area. He talks about the fact, and he never said, I saw an alien. He said, I saw some sort of small mock-up of a body that would fit into this craft.
Yeah, because he did mention that, like, if you were to fit somebody into that particular craft, it would be like a small 10-year-old child, right?
Well, here on that point, here's like the most famous picture of the alien autopsy. I think we've all seen this.
Oh my gosh,
grown
this
up.
is so bad.
It's actually so bad, isn't it?
It is, but this is what people seem to believe. But there's just doing a cursory Google there. 3 years ago, there was talk of real footage, and now last year there was a CIA scientist apparently who came out and said the footage is real. Now that sounds to me like disinformation, because this thing's been disproven over and over and over again. So it kind of gets to what we were talking about earlier on. But this is what everybody kind of thinks when they think Roswell. You know, they think this alien footage.
And I watched, unfortunately, really, really in-depth debunking of that one. And I mean, they've been even interviewed the meat market where the guy bought the organs from. And I'll tell you what, for something that was done on amateur film, it's pretty convincing. What, Fox aired it as a special?
Sure, yeah.
Worldwide known. People believed it.
What about?
And I don't know if that speaks more to the psychology of people, which I think would be a cool thing to get into. Maybe a couple podcasts down the line, like what's the psychology of the people who believe in certain things?
Well, it's that need for the unexplained. Like humans are pattern animals. We need to have a pattern. We need to recognize certain things. So, like conspiracy theory, for anyone who doesn't know the term conspiracy theory, comes from the CIA after Kennedy was killed. Anyone who questioned that was known as a conspiracy theorist, the first time known as it. So take of that as you will. But, you know...
shout out to JFK.
Exactly.
Most people don't know that, though. That's shocking.
They don't know.
Most people don't realize that the Central Intelligence Agency created the term conspiracy theorist specifically to keep people from asking questions about the JFK assassination. Yep. Am I saying that was a conspiracy? I don't know. That sounds like a great topic for another podcast.
Yeah.
But what I am saying is, guys, this is more disinformation like we're talking about. Derek brought up a CIA thing, and he quickly jumped on the point that I was going to make is, man, I want to trust the people who come out from the official stories. But as soon as I find out, oh, you worked for the CIA? Really? And you don't anymore. Really? You're not subcontracting in any way? You sure?
Yeah.
You sure?
Well, first of all, the guy that we're looking at right there looks like when he did land, he kind of just said he'd stay a while and just went down to the local pub in Ireland and drank Guinness for about 2 months. That is a hell of a Ned Kelly.
Oh yeah.
For all you American listeners, that's belly. That's our little thing that we do, but that's a belly and a half.
Well,
I agree. I agree with both of you guys, because I think I'm of the same mindset as you there, David, when you're talking about the CIA in terms of, and Dara, obviously, just in terms of how the actual theory became, because it's not a theory. If you're being lied to, that's not a theory. I think you were lying to me. This is my theory. No, when somebody is blatantly lying to you.
Yeah.
Like, I would say, are we conspiracy theorists? I don't think so. What are we doing? I think we're conspiracy researchers. We're just looking at the facts, and then we're saying, does this pass a snuff test? Does it not? I mean, there's wild things that I believe that you two are going to roll your eyes at and go, why is he even on this podcast? And I'm sure it's going to happen for each of us at some point. And I think that's the beauty of it.
But see, that's the fun of it. And I'd say for anyone who is of that mindset, it's fun to kind of question things, and it's fun to have an inquisitive, open mind, because if you don't, then life isn't fun. And, stuff that's been classified as like even this topic, and we will close the show out with it, even this UFO topic, last month, there was footage shown that the Navy said, yeah, it's real. And that comes from To the Stars. We'll talk about that. But that's what I mean. You can't just dismiss things because it's...
Oh, my God, my blood's boiling just as you saying that. I'm sorry.
It's all right. But this is what I want to talk about here with Dulce Base, right? This is...
All right, yes.
So we were talking about why it's always bases. Why do they appear? Well, the most famous one of that isn't Area 51. Well, actually, that is the most famous one. But the most one that has a lot of mystery around it is Dulce Base. And if anyone played Half-Life, they will know that's what this is kind of supposed to be. Dulce Base is supposed to be a giant human alien underground facility in Colorado and New Mexico border near the town of Dulce, New Mexico. And this is wild. This is crazy. Apparently, like, there was even like a battle that happened there, and residents of Dulce have actually seen moving lights, UFOs, and all other crazy things that can't really be explained. But for anyone who wants a good time, check out Battle of Dulce Base, and you'll see, there's video footage and stuff. But I'm not going to say that's true or that's what's happened, but this story is great, and this one doesn't get enough love. Everyone's too busy going Area 51, but this is the real peach for me.
That's for sure. I agree, because it's so many. I mean, I wanted to just backtrack a little bit on what David said earlier about the Bob Lazar thing. I mean, that's crazy. Obviously, there's a great documentary on it. I think it's on Netflix now. Am I right?
Yes.
Great documentary for all you guys in quarantine and just looking for something to watch. And I'm not going to tell you yay or nay, this guy is telling the truth or not. And that's for you to kind of make up your mind. But I remember when I was a kid, I thought this guy was obviously full of shit.
Yep.
And now watching it, my whole opinion has changed, dramatically, actually.
Mm-hmm. I would like to shout out, even more so than the documentary on Netflix, which I think has its flaws. Check out his interview on the Joe Rogan Experience that he did. Sure. Where he went over it.
Sure, yeah.
And there's also another video, and I apologize, I'm not great with remembering YouTube channel names, but there's a YouTube channel that dedicated an hour to looking at Bob Lazar's body language, doing the whole, FBI kind of, is this a lie, is this not? Here's what we know. Is the story that this man is telling true? We don't know. Does this man genuinely believe the story that he's telling true? It seems without a doubt, he believes what he's saying is true. Now, granted, in 2003, Bush thought that Iraq definitely had weapons of mass destruction. So you can see how things people think are true aren't necessarily true. But the body language, everything else, Bob Lazar seems to show no deception whatsoever that the story he's telling is true. I'm not saying it's true. I'm saying he believes it's true.
Okay. I agree, yeah.
But what I would say is, when it comes to this topic, it's hard one way or the other to really plant your feet on it, because there is so much experts that come out, and then something comes out about them, and you're like, oh, this is not good, So I'm not too familiar with Bob Lazar as such, but what I would say is, I wouldn't discredit his information for his past rather than what he brings to the argument now.
Yeah, well, and it's fascinating that his story has never changed. It's been very consistent. There's things that are true. For those that aren't aware, Bob Lazar said that he worked on alien spacecraft, but only in a compartmentalized manner at an area near Area 51. He was recruited, etc. Ended up getting kicked out because his wife was having an affair with an Air Force pilot, and at that time, you couldn't let people with unsavory backgrounds keep working for you. But there are parts of his story that do hold up, even if it's not alien related. He discussed an element that wasn't discovered for years later, and that's irrefutable. It's an irrefutable fact that the government erased his social security identification number from all databases.
Whoa.
That's true.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable. That's unbelievable.
It's crazy. So what was he doing? We don't know, but we know he definitely worked at Los Alamos. And for those, familiar with nuclear research, knows what that means. So
Los Alamos is another one of those cases where it's very, very familiar with this this specific topic. Los Alamos base is where we heard a lot more of these crazy sightings of these aircrafts and even nuclear testing. Because again, like I would say, some of these earlier these earlier viewings before Roswell could have been testing the rockets, could have been testing anything, because I know the U-2 rockets the U-2 ships were tested in Area 51. Is that like from my understanding?
Yeah. The B-2 bombers were.
B-2 bombers as well were. So like I would
SR-71, one of the greatest machines to ever fly.
Like, to me, and this is just from my personal take on it, when it comes to these specific early 20th century or particularly around World War II, in the start of the Cold War, and it's a lot easier to have a cover of alien UFOs than military grade aircraft. You know?
Okay, I want to throw something out there, because I feel like we've kind of been harsh to people, and even myself, who do believe that there may be some factual alien sightings, or see, it's funny, I actually consider aliens and UFOs totally different things. But here's my question that I want to pose to you guys. I'm curious what you both think. Let's say, hypothetically, today a UFO crashes somewhere near your yard. What do you think, if you're running the Central Intelligence Agency or the NSA or the government, what would you do to cover this up, to keep the getting out from the public, because you don't think they can handle the information? And do you think you see that in stories of supposedly actual UFO encounters? Like, what's your guys' take on that?
I'll start, I guess.
Yeah, go for it.
Like, of course, if it first comes out, you're like, holy shit, this is like a crazy science fiction movie, right? Like E.T., or one of the best ones was the Spielberg one. That's the
Close
name
Encounters
of
a Turn.
Close Encounters.
Now, here's a little bit of nugget of information that I learned recently from a good friend, from a fellow podcaster. That was based on, apparently, fact. That the government had actually met up with guys. Yeah. Shout out to John Hagedorn of the 1001 Heroes podcast over in the States. Elderly gentleman, really nice guy. And I remember listening to that and going, what the, And I listened to it and I went, really? So I done a little bit of research into it. And it turns out that was actually, because obviously Spielberg is a crazy UFO guy. He loves it.
Loves it.
Hence E.T. Hence his first ever, I think, student film was based on UFOs as well. It was called something, had the name Fired, and anyway, I can't exactly get it right now. I'll see if I can find out the name. But if you look at Spielberg, he's so into that kind of thing that it goes back to the old adage: there's no smoke without fire.
Well, see, this is it, and I would say that we're at a point where there's a mix between actual unidentified flying objects going all the way back through history. Like, even you were saying the first one was from Egypt that was recorded. The four from Rome,
1440. Yeah.
The four from Rome were by Livy, Pliny, Plutarch, and Cassius Dio. Now, these are all like, take it from me, they're all real historical figures. They wrote about stuff that was actual real. The only reason why we know a lot about Rome is because what these guys wrote. They weren't bullshit artists. Now, there were historians that were bullshit artists, but these weren't the ones. So
just weren't. They weren't recording the child abuse at that time. That's the only thing. That's what they weren't doing in Rome.
Well, this is from the BC. The only one we have from AD is Cassius Dio, but what's interesting about it is, right, three of them talk about fire in the sky or ships in the sky. And then when we go through the Renaissance period, there's lots of paintings that show this fire in the sky thing, where there's these, what look like ships. Now, my question would be on that:
There's one on the Last Supper, right? Isn't there out the window?
Yeah, there's loads of saints and depictions of Jesus and stuff have these in the background. Now, my question would be,
are we going there? Please tell me we're going
there. My question would be, how does someone in the 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th century know what a spaceship looks like? And why is it so consistent?
It's very consistent to the narrative, isn't it?
Like, it's crazy. And that's where I'm kind of like, this is weird, because when we're looking back and we're like, this really, really looks like a spaceship. It really, really looks like a UFO. What is it doing in a Renaissance painting? And then when you look back through the historical narrative and you hear Livy talking about ships in the sky, and you're like, wait a minute, maybe there is something to this. But the point I was getting at, I wouldn't discount those. The ones I would discount would be the ones in the middle of the 20th century, post World War II, during the Cold War, after Roswell, because this is when we start getting a bunch of different testing. We start getting a lot, and stuff we still don't know about because it was the Cold War. They were testing lots of weapons. There was lots of crazy stuff going on. And look, there's a very high possibility, and more realistically, that it was a government program rather than Little Green Men. But Little Green Men is a great cover when you want to test out. Yeah, when you want to test out your whatever. And, you know, the Nazis probably did this in the 40s. So,
well, I was going to say that the Nazis, like, let's be real here. You know, the Nazis were the first to actually come close to getting anti-gravitational technology and making it work almost.
But here's the crazy thing. Here's the crazy thing.
Yeah, 100%.
But here's the crazy thing about this, right? Where do you think the US government and NASA got the technology?
The Nazis.
Project Paperclip, when they brought them in. Project Paperclip was a thing. Look it up. That's historical narrative.
Operation Paperclip.
Paperclip.
It's like all of these little shows that they done. You remember, like, these stupid shows like Project Nazi Hunter and all this, and they were hunting all these Nazis. I know Netflix done a show on one of the guys as well recently. Old guy that was living in
Von Braun. Von Braun is the most famous. He was the inventor of the V1, V2 rockets.
Yeah,
he worked for NASA,
and he worked for NASA. That's how they got to the moon.
Exactly.
We would not. That's what people forget. We would, and I'm sorry, it is what it is. You can't change the history. First of all, and this is a staggering statistic that most people won't know: 70,000 Nazis were granted a pardon after World War II. They didn't all come here. No. A lot of them ended up in the new West German government. Some of them went to Russia. Some of them went to U.S. The Argentina ones were the ones that kind of just slipped there. Like, they were the ones probably ended up there. Bormann probably ended up in Argentina. Hitler.
Look, what I'd say about Argentina, that is something different. That would be the ones who went through the rat lines. We're talking official, documented workers.
Oh yeah, for sure.
For Allied states, mainly the U.S., but also, as Dave said, the West German government.
But here's where my problem comes, and it kind of goes back to what David was saying at the start. We're meant to believe in a government, okay? And it's not just the US government, they're all in
on it. And this is proof of it. Like, these were the allies, the people who fought the Nazis. They're like, oh, we'll just take you all in and you can work on our project. It's unbelievable.
The only ones that were segregated was probably the Russians until recently. But let's be fair. When it came to, truth telling, and let's put that in inverted commas there. Truth telling, okay? So the US wants us to hate. I don't mean the US, no offense to you, David, but I mean the US government's
corrupt. It doesn't matter.
The US government wants us to hate Nazis because Nazis did a really bad thing, but we're going to employ the good ones.
Yeah. So it makes no sense. It's crazy.
We're meant to trust in these people. Yeah. But the scientists we're going to take on, anyone that's of note or anyone that can offer us something, we'll take them on. Anyone else? Yeah, y'all can go fuck yourselves. You know what I mean? It's
absolutely. It's almost, oh my gosh, I don't want to say that. I'm gonna pull myself back, but it is this kind of mentality of you can be forgiven for your sins if you'll come and help us reach new frontiers. And we can make it to the moon. You might have had a hand in killing people.
Yeah, it's like
those Russians.
Like, literally, those V2 and V1 rockets, they did a lot of damage towards the end of the war. And pretty much, if it wasn't for what happened, if it wasn't for the nukes, the V1 and V2 rockets could have actually won the war for the Nazis, which is insane.
Oh, yeah.
And when you think about that, you're like, wow, this is who they brought in. But then again, they did go to the moon. They did push stuff forward. And it's a very uncomfortable, like, to be honest with you, it's more uncomfortable to think about that than it is for Little Green Men in the Sky.
It is.
Well, and that's
you want to be super scared.
And I think
you want to be really, really scared, Derek.
Yeah, go on.
Think about this fact: the Nazis, and please don't consider and confuse current day neo-Nazis when I talk about past Nazis, because we are talking about really smart, intelligent people, and I am not in any way sympathizing with them. I want to make that clear as well.
You're talking about the scientists who work there.
We're talking about the scientists and whatnot. But look at this. And this is going back to my conversation probably about the Glocke, I'm assuming. Hitler had people working on nuclear bombs And you know what his response was? We don't need to allocate that many resources to that. We've got something better.
Yeah.
We don't know what that better thing was, but if that
sure.
doesn't scare the crap out of you and make you wonder what is going on, what were these scientists working on? Whew. I mean, yeah,
guys,
you
here's
can
the
take
thing.
Roswell stuff and you can reverse engineer it, whatever. But I think what we got out of the Nazis is so much more powerful than any of that.
And secret. And
yeah.
secret. Here's the thing, right? 1920s, 1930s, 1940s. Who were the best scientists in the world? Who were the best everything in the world as far as education?
German.
The Germans. Yeah. And then, so what were they working on? We still don't know. A lot of this stuff is declassified. That's why I find, like, I love the Wolfenstein games, because the Wolfenstein games actually go for it, and all the mad stuff that they were kind of working on. A lot of stuff isn't as mad as it seems. You know, and even the Glock was in Call of Duty, as you can see here. So it's still there in popular culture, but it's redefined as sci-fi. But, you know, here's the thing. Today's sci-fi is tomorrow's future. And I think we could start seeing this kind of stuff with a bit of digging. But we'll never see this kind of stuff because it's so crazy out there. But to that point, I would say where I would sit on the 90 after World War II, this was all government tech.
For sure.
There's no, I don't believe anything else. What I would say, although two on this, right? So Betty and Barney Hill abduction and Davos Pass incident. These are two incidents on opposite sides of the world. One was in the US and one was in the Soviet Union. Abductions, I would fall on that maybe this is something else.
Well, this is why I just wanted to, before you went there, I just wanted to bring you guys' attention, because I know maybe you are, David. I know not a lot of people are familiar with this one, but this one always stood out to me. The Shag Harbor incident. Everyone wants to go to Shag Harbor.
This is actually new to me. I'm very interested.
Yeah, Irish people will get that joke. Everyone wants to go to Shag Harbor. It's a great place. No, so I'm going to read this out for you guys, and you can kind of see. But the reason I'm bringing this is because the narrative is very strange, because there's actual evidence of the before the incident, if you get me. So on the night of October 4th, 1967, at about 11:20 p.m. Atlantic Daylight Time, it was reported that something had crashed into the waters of Shag Harbor's in Canada, by the way. Something had crashed into the waters of Shag Harbor. At least 11 people saw, and all these people have been verified, saw a low-flying lit object head towards the harbor. Multiple witnesses reported hearing a whistling sound like a bomb, then a whoosh, and finally a loud bang. The object was never officially identified and was therefore referred as an unidentified flying object in the Government of Canada documents. The Canadian military became involved in a subsequent rescue/recovery effort. The initial report was made by local resident Laurie Wickens and 4 of his friends. Driving through Shag Harbor on Highway 3, they spotted a large object ascending into the waters of the harbor. Attaining a better vantage point, Wickens and his friends saw an object floating 250 to 300 meters offshore in the waters of Shag Harbor. Wickens contacted the RCMP attachment in Barrington Passage and reported he had seen a large airplane or small airliner crashing into the waters, and that they were circular. So just to give a bit of context to that, okay, before you kind of guys chime in and give your thoughts on that, which is, it's a really weird story because that can happen. Just before this incident, there's an airline, so Air Canada Flight 305 en route to Toronto while flying over Sherbrooke and Saint Jean in Quebec, 3,658 meters from the Halifax International Airport. Air Canada Captain Pierre Chaberneau on Flight 305 pointed out to co-pilot Bob Ralphington that there was something strange out the left side of the aircraft at 7:15. So think of the time here now, like this is a couple of hours before, we have the actual incident that we're talking about. In his report, the captain reported an object on a parallel course a few miles away. He describes it as brilliantly lit rectangular object with a string of smaller lights trailing the object. At 7:19, the pilots noticed a sizable silent explosion near the large object. 2 minutes later, a second explosion occurred, which faded to a blue cloud around the object. So we'll get into the next part. This is what makes the story so great. Daryl Dorey, his sister Annette, and his mother were sitting on the front porch in Mahone Bay. This is all within the same kind of jurisdiction, when they noticed a large object maneuvering above the southwestern horizon. The next day, Daryl wrote a letter to the RCAF, Greenwood base commander, asking what was flying over the water that evening, as he had never seen anything like it. Then it comes to another part. This is what's so great about this story, because there's so many, all right? MV Nickerson of Sambro, Nova Scotia, again within the same kind of jurisdiction. While standing at the wheelhouse of his vessel, Captain Leo Howard, no mercy, what a name, was looking at 4 blips on his Decker radar that were stationary. When he looked up about 28 kilometers from the vessel's windows, he could see the 4 bright objects situated in a roughly rectangular formation. The entire crew of the nearly 20 fishermen stood on deck and watched the object in the northeastern sky. Mercy radioed the Rescue Coordination Center and Harbour Master in Halifax, asking for an explanation, and filed a report with the Lunenburg RCMP outlining his sighting when they arrived. And then the last one, guys, Halifax Harbour sighting. So this is getting real close now. The Chronicle Herald and local radio stations reported a glowing object that had been seen by many people who had called their newsroom. They reported witnessing strange glowing objects flying around Halifax around 10 p.m., which is closer to the harbour where obviously the Shag Harbour incident eventually occurred. So when I read something like that, and obviously reading that to you guys, and obviously people watching the show, I hope you bared with me there while we were going through that. It's crazy, because this is an incident now where you've got actual fact from different, I suppose, almost different counties, as we would say in Ireland, but different states in Canada, you know, like an actual airline involved as well, reporting what they had seen. So this is verified fact. I mean, this is not government stuff. This is stuff from a different realm, you know?
Yeah. And that's what I mean. This is, we start moving into stuff that feels more legit. It feels like it has more to it. Up on the screen there for viewers, I've been playing footage of the most recent ones that were declassified by the Navy. This is stuff that, you know, kind of works the same, where it matches that description almost exactly to what you said.
Very much so.
Literally unidentified flying objects going for and doing stuff that cannot be explained. These were verified by the To the Stars. But they were leaked by Tom DeLonge from To the Stars. Last year.
I'm sorry, was my growl coming through? I think I was trying to silently growl, and I think it came through. Excuse me.
But these are apparently from November 2004, 2015, and 2007, 2017, as when they were put into the public domain. So, like, as you said, those incidents all match up pretty closely to this footage. And that's where I'm saying, you know, there's no smoke without fire, and here seems to be a towering inferno.
Well, why don't you?
There's no towering inferno. I want to go back to what Ian was talking about, because unlike To the Stars Academy's giant con, I think what he's saying actually has some legitimacy to it. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I show my colors right there?
But Dave, what do you think about the footage? I'm just going to play it again.
No. I want to talk about Ian's thing. I know we want to jump there because that's probably how we should spend the last 30 minutes. But this Shag Harbor thing has me super interested because, like you're saying, this is not CIA like TTSA is. This is not an entertainment corporation that pretended to be a UFO corporation originally, like TTSA is. This is not a rock star who's just, oh my God, they're coming to me. These are real, actual people. I mean, mass hallucinations. Is that the best? Is that the best we can come up with? You know, psychiatrically for what happened here.
So you think one of the main differences between this incident and anything else we've seen before is the source, where it's you think it's more disinformation? Is that?
I think David's onto something there. David,
you can correct
me if I'm wrong here. I think where David is coming from is the exact same place I came from when I first heard of this incident.
Right.
It's the fact that it's coming from real people, but with real timelines. And that's why it was very important for me to report the actual incident and then go back to the the pre-incident, if you will. These are real people, harbor masters, pilots, locals, all within a jurisdiction that has been calculated as matching up to the exact same time frame that it would take. The investigation that they then done on Shag Harbor was a different story because it was the same kind of thing, because the American government come up, told the Canadian government that we need to research this because we have experience with it and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And obviously, that's why you've never heard of the incident.
Yeah.
And a lot of people haven't heard of the incident.
It's one I haven't heard of.
I think especially to Ian's point is the fact that we're talking about people who we're not just talking about would lose their jobs if they came out and said something. They could get locked up.
Sure.
They could be imprisoned for, you have this, we need to put you away, especially at those times when we didn't really understand how certain mental things worked. It was just, we're just going to put you away. Anytime I hear somebody come out from the Air Force or, from the government or whatever, it's, but coincidentally, you're not losing your job. Who's paying you? These people aren't they're paid.
That's fair.
Whether or not what they saw is true, I don't know. But they are putting their lives on the line to get this information out there. And an Air Force pilot isn't doing that.
Right. That's also one of my favorite words. It's coincidentally and coincidence. What a word. It's right. It's a word that can be just used so much to your advantage, especially if you're in a position of power, Oh, that's just a coincidence. Oh, really? You were seen there at that time doing this. That's just coincidence.
But what I do want to say, I've seen this come back into vogue recently. And up on the screen now, there's 5 of the most credible UFO sightings from 21st century. And we've had a handful of them. There's been so many weird incidents of even 2020, but over the past 5 years that kind of make you think. And one that I want to get your opinion on it based on what you said there about, paid actors or whatever.
No, I'm not even paid actors.
No, I just mean people in position of authority.
If you're in an intelligence organization, especially, I know we're going to jump to this in a second, but if we're talking about To the Stars Academy and your name, and you happen to be a counterintelligence officer, am I really supposed to believe that you've stopped being a counterintelligence officer just because magically there's this UFO group that wants you involved, that the government's sponsoring?
I like the idea of paid actors there. I'm just going to throw this out there.
But I don't want to confuse that with the whole, people say, oh, this person was a paid actor. They went on TV and they feel sympathy. I think it's a totally different,
How many paid actors do you reckon all of the news companies have paid the South American countries recently to look afraid on oh my God, I'm fearing for my life. And they're in the same locations in different spots as well.
Well, what I do,
what was that movie that came out? Oh my gosh, it was just a couple years ago. Tim Pool mentioned it recently. Yeah. Gosh, the name's escaping me, but you'll see it. A person goes on the news. They defend the tobacco industry.
Oh, thank you for smoking.
A couple years later, you see the news.
Thank you for smoking.
And they're defending, climate change is a hoax.
Yeah.
And however you feel on either of the subjects, that's not relevant to what I'm saying right now.
No,
what
I know.
I'm saying is, Merchants for Hire. That's what it's called. You can look up the movie. There's people that's what their jobs are. They're paid by lobbyists to go out and say a specific tagline. And people don't realize that Operation Mockingbird never ended.
That's a good point. Operation Mockingbird is another thing.
Yeah, it's a CIA program.
But they've done the same recently. They've done the same recently with Venezuela and with countries and all these refugees marching against Trump a million miles and blah blah blah, and they're in samples.
They never make it here.
Yeah, they're in samples, and then all of a sudden you've got photos from real journalists and real photographers showing them taking a break and exchanging money. So I mean, this is a government that lies to people.
But
it's
I just want to take that point for one, and I want to finish up on something that a lot of people don't know about.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's this Exo Vaticana. Right.
Okay, this is interesting. Yeah,
this is one that I don't think most people know about.
I'm just gonna say.
I can't believe they named their observatory Lucifer.
That's what it's called. No, it's not the observatory. It's telescope.
I'm gonna give a shout out to my father, Papa Mike Kelly, who's probably watching right now. He's gonna love this next bit, Dara, because
I had to mention this. I had to mention this because this guy was this guy was on Coast to Coast AM. He did the whole run. Tim Putnam. No, not Tim Putnam.
Art Bell.
Chris Putnam. He was on. Yeah, he was
Art Bell.
With Art Bell, and then he was on there with George Norrie. And I'm like, oh, this is great, you know. So I had to bring this up because I read this book and they were doing the whole Petrus Romanus thing, which is supposed to be the last pope. And it goes into the Vatican and their plan to basically bring in aliens, and it's a wild read. It's a fun read. I would definitely. It's worth the €17 to pick up. Get it on Kindle though.
Get it on Wish. You'll get a discount.
Oh, get it anywhere. It's great, but while the overall narrative is a very evangelical narrative, the actual facts in it are quite interesting. So they're talking about the largest observatory, one of the largest observatories and one of the best telescopes is in the Vatican, and it's run by Jesuits, which is it's crazy, because you don't think about it.
It's a topic for another day. Barry. Don't get us.
We're just touching all these points, guys.
Agree.
We're touching all these points, but that's who it's run by, and then you go through where it is and its location and what they've discovered and that. It's unbelievable. So also a lot of UFO, even going back to what we talked about with the Renaissance artists, a lot of sightings have been around the Vatican, have been around Rome, and maybe that was the case with these Renaissance artists. So it really gets the noggin jogging when you read a book like this, and you're like, well, okay, a lot of this stuff is crazy, but there are some good kind of through lines here as well, and it all kind of lines up. And when stuff lines up, it makes you question stuff. Now, I'd say don't swallow. Look, everything we say is pulled from different areas. Don't just believe it because we're saying it. Do your own research and make up your own mind. But it's always fun to read a new approach, and this book is the definition of a new approach when it comes to UFOs.
Well, I like it. The reason I like it as well is because I would agree with that last statement in terms of make up your own mind. Do your own research and
yes, we're the Fox News of conspiracy theories.
Yeah, don't take your news. Don't listen to fake news. You know what I mean?
Don't listen to any news. Research yourself.
Drain the swamp and do it yourself. That's what I would say. Drain the swamp.
Always.
And I don't know, maybe when you campaign on draining the swamp, you actually drain the swamp. That's all I'm saying.
Well, if you've got a swamp out your back garden, you should drain it. If it's not a swamp area.
Well, did you guys hear the rumor that we wanted, instead of just a wall, we wanted to fill like a moat around Mexico with alligators? Has nothing to do with aliens. I just got to throw that out there because
maybe they're amazing. Alien alligators or something, some sort of, what I mean? Just throw Hillary out there and tell her to spawn a load of little frogs that she spits out.
Oh God!
She can.
You guys are safe in Ireland. I'm going to disappear tomorrow. You realize that, right?
Listen, I'm saying this right now, online, live on video. If Hillary Clinton or her husband came near me, I would right hook the jaw off those people. So,
oh God!
So,
I can't do that in this country. There's literally laws against that.
You didn't say it, David.
We have freedom of speech, kind of.
Say it.
But
listen, look, the easiest way for me to get back into America is just by hail Donald Trump. It's simple.
I got a MAGA hat you can borrow.
I love it.
But guys,
I wanted to mention something just before we wrap up there.
We're not wrapping up. We need to discuss. Can we go into overtime, Derek? Can I make the executive call? Because if we don't discuss To the Stars Academy, I'm not going to be happy.
Okay, but I just wanted to touch this up, right? So what this also goes into, and what we haven't talked about, but it is worth going into because we can't verify anything that we're talking about. This is all just us having a laugh. And it's all entertainment again, so that's it. It's
it's entertainment. Yeah.
But
I hope you people are entertained, because essentially what we are doing here is just purely entertainment. If we're talking about anything that we're talking about is our opinions, but they're based on probably years of research and looking into this stuff ourselves. It's not to change your mind and tell you must do this. But what I will tell you is, if you are interested in anything we are saying, then you must do your own research. That's for sure.
And what I will say,
and not even do your own research so that you find out what's true or not. But my gosh, guys, dive into this.
Yeah,
it's so much fun.
It's so much fun.
I want to give it. I want to give a shout out to what's currently my favorite YouTube channel. I'll get no payback for this in any way, shape, or form. But guys, check out Dark Journalist. He does an amazing job. He goes into the occult, which I wanted to get into. I'm going to skip over it because I think with everything we've covered, we don't even need to go there. But
hold on.
If you guys want to know about mystery schools, all that, etc.
This book right here that's on the screen right now, this goes into occultism. It goes into the COVID breeding policy of hybrids and all this mad stuff. So this is where we can go. And what I will say is, look, this is a show that's for you guys. It's open. We're going to start putting up polls about what you want us to talk about. This is all entertainment. This is all fun. This is all of a laugh. This was very entertaining to read through and go through and look at the history. And all we can do is go off what we can kind of verify. And then when we were jumping down rabbit holes, we tell you. And this is one of them that's really fun to jump down. But
I'm just going to jump down. Since we're talking and he walked away, I'm just going to jump down the deepest rabbit hole that could possibly exist on the subject.
Sure.
Take a second to breathe for a second, people, because
deep breath,
this
guys.
is as outlandish as you can possibly get. But I want to talk about Jack Parsons.
Okay.
I want to talk about the guy that ran JPL, or it's known as the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, aka Jack Parsons Lab. This is the guy who we wouldn't have gotten to the moon, etc., without. But also, and this is what's so great when you go back in time and people like Isaac Newton, Galileo, all of them, not only were they scientists,
but they were occultists.
They were also, exactly.
Yeah,
they were occultists.
This guy was
into alchemy and stuff like that.
This guy was not only involved as a Freemason, but he was also involved with the OTO and heavily up with Aleister Crowley.
Yeah, I wouldn't know anything about that first part, but I mean, let's talk. Let's talk about Aleister Crowley just for a second.
Aleister Crowley.
Yeah. Welcome back, Ian. We're talking about Aleister Crowley.
Hey guys, in the chat.
If you visit our Facebook page from the Dark Conspiracy Podcast, you'll see a post that I put up this week, and it is a picture drawn by Aleister Crowley of a being he called, I don't know if he pronounces Lam or Lamb, whatever.
Lamb.
Okay. It helped him write the Book of the Law, and eventually he drew a picture of it. Well, it eerily resembles what we today would consider a quote-unquote gray alien.
Yep, it looks very much like a gray alien. Like,
let's go deeper.
The definition of what we think of a gray alien.
Oh, 100%. The big head and small eyes. But I gotta go deeper in this rabbit hole. I have to. I just have to. Not only is this something that Parsons did, but you have to consider this is a guy that we're launching rockets to the moon at the same time he's off in New Mexico or whatever doing sex magic to hopefully get these rockets to launch with guys like, here it comes, Scientology founder L. Ron Hubbard. And as the theory goes, supposedly in 1946, coincidentally, before all these sightings started happening with Roswell, etc., he did something called the Babylon Working, which I encourage you to Google. We can't cover it in this podcast. It's way too complex a topic to get into. But the type of event, supposedly they opened a portal to another dimension that let in these aliens and these UFOs. So let's forget about them being from another planet, another solar system, another galaxy. We know there's, thanks to Kepler, we know there's billions upon billions of planets. What if UFOs aren't from other planets?
What if they're interdimensional beings?
Another dimension.
Yeah, and that's another thing. What if they're interdimensional beings? Which, to be honest with you, it makes way more sense.
It does. They could get here in an instant.
Yeah. But here's the thing, like,
but it's also scary.
Like,
it's also super actually, scary if you think about it.
Sorry, guys. In what year was it that scientists actually figured out that we did have wormholes and it was possible to space travel if they could figure out how to manipulate these wormholes correctly? All right.
So well, I think that was part of Einstein's one of his theories, where he added lambda as the variable to explain what, at the time he said this is a mistake, but it turned out, oh wait, this coincidentally explains dark matter. Which, here's another mind blower for you people: 5% of the universe is matter and energy. The other 95%, scientists have no idea what it's made up of. They call it dark energy, they call it dark matter, and they go, well, we don't know. So is it really reasonable to rule out that there might be multiverses or interdimensional I don't know.
And this,
I'm too stupid. I'm too stupid of a human being to know.
Well, look, if you're a listener, go ahead, Dara. Sorry.
Well, I was going to say, before you jump in there, Ian, you know, this is the kind of stuff that we don't know about, and that's fun to research. And that could all be BS or could be true. But what's crazy about it is the scientists that we have documented, like you said, Jack Parsons. This guy was deeply into the occult to the point that he was 7 or 8 layers deep. Like, we're not talking about someone who reads a book or goes to the internet. He is heavily involved, as you said, with sex magic and all this kind of stuff. Yeah. And then we end up, what is the main image of an alien? This image from Aleister Crowley,
which is 1919.
1919, exactly.
Decades before gray aliens were even a concept.
Like, I wasn't even a thought, personally.
Like, look, literally, there is, you know, the stereotypical alien from the fake Alien Autopsy, and there's the image. Like, how spooky is that? If you guys aren't scared, should be. Or at least intrigued.
I'm going to ask a question. I'm going to ask a question to people that are listening right now, okay? That might be just listening for fun, and they don't believe in anything. It's like, oh, no, there's no other life on other planets or blah, blah, blah. Whatever. And that's fine. That's your right to believe whatever the hell you want to. But I'm going to ask one question and one question only. When you are sitting outside and it's a beautiful night and it's you know, the sky has zero cloud in it, and you see all those beautiful stars and whatnot. When you look at those stars, I remember asking someone, I'm going to leave them unnamed. I remember asking someone saying, what do you think those stars are? Actually, what are they? I don't know. I suppose they're similar to light bulbs, like, aren't they? And I remember just going, is that all you've got for me? They're similar to light bulbs. Okay, sure. You're saying what you see. It's like bringing a kid into psychiatry and going, hey, say what you see, you know, or catchphrase, say what you see, my friends. But really, realistically, ask yourself, what do you think it is that you see when you see the stars? What do you think the stars are? They're basically our version of the sun. Some of them maybe triple to quadruple times the size of the sun. And in fact, scientists have proved that a lot of these stars don't even exist anymore.
They're reflections. They're reflections of all stars.
Trip out on that for a moment. Yeah. What you're seeing in front of you isn't even there anymore.
Yeah, it's it's a reflection of a dying star or a dead star, just as it's gone supernova.
So for you to think that there's no life forms possibly around some of these stars that are probably galaxies away, whatever way you want to look at it, that's crazy. So,
what isn't it the most egotistical thing that you could think as a human being, that us on an average planet, on an average part of the Milky Way, in an average galaxy, in an average part of the universe, just happens to be so special that out of the trillions upon trillions of other galaxies that exist in the universe, we're the only ones that came up with intelligent life. We're the only ones where the universe decided, let's leave religion out for just a split second, and let's just go with the purely scientific concept. We're the only place where the universe decided I'm going to manifest myself as consciousness and observe and ask questions about myself? Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm glad you chimed in with that, because that's actually essentially what it is. I mean, like me personally, I believe in, the idea of Jesus and stuff like that is great. You know what I mean? It's a great message. It's 100%. And I believe that if you follow that message, hell, you're going to live a good life. You know what I mean? If you live to that code, and generally, if you fall down, you're going to come back from that. And as long as you learn from those mistakes, you're going to be great. And I 100% wholeheartedly believe that that's a great message. However, on your point, David, we are, as a species, human beings, as important, if not less important, as ants.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Or bees, Bees probably are probably even more important.
They probably are.
Look, on the chat here, Ronan Farrell jumped in saying, yeah, we're basically seeing something that exists millions of years ago before. It's amazing. Also amazing to see how we take it for granted.
Oh, yeah.
And Eamon Cleary pops in, would you bang an alien if she had a human box?
Would I bang an alien if she had a human box?
Yeah.
Yes. I'm not even going to hesitate. Absolutely. I think I convinced my girlfriend to have a three-way. I'm just going to be honest.
It's like that bit from Jay and Silent Bob, No, sorry, from Clerks 2, where he's like, maybe do an alien. It's like Homeboy made it with an alien once.
Listen, let's speak about banging aliens. What about Captain Kirk? That motherfucker would.
He got
there first. He got around.
Yeah, he didn't care. You talk about not being a racist. That guy covered green skin, blue skin. Every color skin.
Actually, it's funny because when talking about Jack Parsons, was it Elon Hubbard?
Sure,
Ron Hubbard.
Hubbard. He was involved there as well. So there is that kind of sci-fi crossover. Here's the thing: Terry Butcher pops in the fact that
more nonfiction than any person has written in their entire life. Just who? I'd just like to point that out. He has a religion.
Butcher. Oh yeah, Elon Hubbard. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Terry Butcher pops in the fact that 99% population does not take an interest in it. Yeah, that's sad. Ronan pops in. Emmett asking the real questions we all want to ask, and then the Clerks reference. Yeah, thanks guys for popping in the chat. We appreciate it.
Yeah, 100%. It's always good to see people getting involved. I got a few text messages as well, so it's great to know that people are watching on our pilot episode of.
Some
and I will 100% respond to any comments that you guys leave under the YouTube video. I get a kick out of doing it. I do that for the Wrestling Rewind, cheap plug. So please leave comments. And oh my gosh, Derek, don't let us leave before we talk about TTSA.
Oh no, well, we won't. But I just would say, some technical issues beforehand. We have them resolved now, which is good. So for next month's show, it should run a little bit more smoother.
I think we're possibly gonna look, because of the lockdown situation. It depends, I guess, on everyone's situation now with the next period on our wonderful Prime Minister. Shout out not to that moron that runs Ireland, and I say that very lightly.
He was voted out, and he just stuck around. Democracy for the win, right?
Leo Varadkar, I can say that. He can't sue me. I can say what I want. I pay his wages.
That's true.
But I think we might possibly looking at doing a couple of weeks over the next little while at doing it maybe every 2 weeks, but we're not going to promise that. We've talked about that, Dara, but we might be able to get the next one out within 2 weeks.
What I would say to that is, anyone who's interested, subscribe to the show, subscribe to the channel. That's the best way to reach us. It's the best way there's lots of shows going on. We have our own Facebook page as well for this, so when we do have it, like the Facebook page, there will be notification what's going on and what the next topic is. At the moment, we're thinking of doing time travel, because there's some wild stuff with that. But we might put another topic up. But if we do go time travel and you want to talk about undercover Vatican conspiracies, one is the chronovisor. Which, if you guys don't know what the chronovisor is, it's amazing. So that's what, and John Teeter. as well. So I'm pulling for time travel, but
I'm interested in time travel because I'm interested in how this whole Q movement and all that is kind of coming into it now with obviously with George Bush's son and stuff like that. Or not George Bush, should I say? Excuse, I'm going to slap myself in the face right there. How dare I put George Bush and John F. Kennedy in the same sentence?
Both great human beings, really.
Well, one is a great human being. One was.
You're right. JFK was kind of a douche.
Hey, you're winding me up now.
He's having a go.
Hey, who lives in this country? Who does the voting? You Irish people. How dare you?
if us Irish people were over there, you'd be more fucked because we can't seem to take care of ourselves now as well.
That's a fair point. No, that's a fair point.
We would actually be okay because we vote for the right party now. It just doesn't matter anymore.
No.
They just don't recognize your votes.
No, they just stay anyway. Guys, I have a question here from FC regarding Area 51 in its current state. What has changed in terms of information? Info is easier to come by these days. Do you believe that Area 51 is still active?
I believe it's still active as a base. However, I believe that if there was anything alien related, I believe it has been moved to other bases because of the public perception that it's gotten. Look, I'm going to cite Catherine Ost Fitz, I believe her name is right here. There is $21 trillion missing from the U.S. budget that goes into what we refer to as the black budget. Coincidentally, that's half of our economy. She believes a lot of it goes into breakaway civilizations that orbit the Earth. I don't know if I can really get on board with that. But what I do know is that if there is attention to a specific place like Area 51 and people are camping out there, etc., are they still doing test flights? Yeah, probably. But if there's actual sensitive data, it's not like China, it's not like Russia, it's not like Iran doesn't know about these locations. So they probably have it compartmentalized and moved out to other bases, would be my assumption. Again, I don't know.
Again,
I
officially
Half-Life. Don't work there, as far as you guys know.
Again, play Half-Life. You'll have a good time. I would say Area 51 is probably just a museum now, and anything that was there has been moved. And look, if I was running Area 51, I'd close it and open it up as a museum, make some money out of it. Why not?
Yeah, open up the whole Groom Lake facility. Yeah, one of the things that upset me, and I'm going to jump back to Bob Lazar for a second, is I saw an article, I think it was 2 weeks ago, of a pilot that overflew Area 51. He kind of got not in the airspace, but just close enough. And the news article used it to disprove Bob Lazar's story. For some reason, I don't know. I believe him a little bit. Not that necessarily it was UFOs, but I believe he worked on some sort of secretive project. And
for sure.
Right. And again, like it seems like the chat really is enjoying time travel, Ian. So I think that's the one we're going to be going for, lads.
We got any more questions before you
waiting on the side of
before you read any more of the comments out? I just wanted to mention as well, like it's like that old adage. One of my favorite quotes, and a scary quote as well. When you really, really dissect this quote, it is scary. The greatest trick the devil ever played was making you believe that he didn't exist.
How true is that, though?
It's very true.
You ask people who will go to their grave saying, I believe in Jesus. I believe in God. Do you believe that there is a physical devil? Well, like, come on. All in or not all in?
Exactly.
One or the other.
Exactly. And that's where I believe we are when it comes to, this isn't the only base. I mean, there's plenty of bases and there's plenty of facilities around the United States and off the United States. Let's look at Alaska sometime and see.
Oh, gosh.
The thing wasn't just based on nothing. You know what I mean?
So, guys, we've already touched on this, but there's a question from Kelly Waters in the chat. Do you believe in aliens?
No.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
Like, I think it's, we talked about this earlier on, but I think it's unreasonable based on how big the universe is and based on, how many dimensions there are for us to be alone.
Well, I used to always be a fence answer because I've always looked at myself as an open-minded skeptic, but I believe now in the time that we're in, when it comes to aliens and UFOs, I definitely I do believe in aliens. Yes.
I want to expand and say I'm not entirely convinced about UFOs. I do believe that aliens exist. I do believe that interdimensional travel, and that's such a weird word to use, does exist. Basically, if you boil everything down, our observable universe is what? 0.05 naught of what's out there. We see this tiny spectrum of visible light that we can perceive, and then what our telescopes can perceive, and that's nothing compared to what's out there. There could be alien roadways above us that we have no way of observing because they're in a different universe or a different dimension that doesn't hit ours.
We are the equivalent of a speck of sand on a beach.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You know? Exactly. And that's it. And when you think about it that way, anything is possible. You know, the multiverse theory, you know, even more so, every single thing that's possibly happened has already happened, and then the opposite has happened at the same time. So it, you know, but to boil it down to just, are there UFOs that have appeared? Oh yeah, probably. But as we've talked about, they're probably different things. Like, I would say, one to close on, and Dave, I'll let you have your to the stars rant now in a moment. But
thank you.
The vision of Fatima. For anyone who is religious among you,
yes, I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
and one here, it's from the one.
We've kind of avoided Ancient Aliens because it has that weird,
it does,
you know, pejorative nowadays because of the TV show.
Maybe next time I'll get my big wig and put my big hair up.
Your Giorgio Tsoukalos look.
Yeah, he's a good guy though. I like him.
He is. He's very reasonable. But like even that, I mean, you look at. I'm gonna make this really succinct, Derek, because I know where you are. You look at something like even the story of Genesis, and you compare that to the ancient legends of Sumer. And I'm not talking about Zacharias Sitchin's. I'm talking about Oxford University, their translations of the Sumerian tablets. What do we see? We see God in the very beginning using voice, aka string theory, to create a universe. We see genetic manipulation with Adam having a rib taken out, and it creates Eve.
Or the ark,
dust to
the
dust,
ark in general,
earth to earth. The ark. Everybody looks at the ark and say, "Well, how could two of every animal fit?" Well, what if it's two samples of DNA from every animal?
Yeah,
we don't know. We're looking at things that are passed down through oral tradition for thousands and thousands of years, trying to use their words that they have in their language to explain things. And I hope this doesn't get me kicked out of any congregations, but I'm just saying, is the story of Genesis really all that different from the story of, again, not Zacharias Sitchin's, I'm talking about Oxford University right here. Is it really that different from the tales we see in Gilgamesh and the ancient Anunnaki kings? I don't think it is.
Well, hold on. Even in the Bible, look, and you know what? And maybe we could do a topic on the Watchers. The Watchers.
Oh, the Archons?
The Archons and the Watchers.
I would like to do it on the Anunnaki as well.
The Anunnaki. Yeah, well, they're the same. They're the same thing.
Exactly.
Yeah. And it you know, and they're in the Bible, so it's like maybe we're all dancing around the same thing, you know. Right. And that's what's crazy about it. So look, guys, the main thing is there's so much to talk about.
Ezekiel saw the wheel, right?
Yeah, like
Genesis 6:4. The angels came and had sex with women and had these weird hybrid offspring. If that's not genetic manipulation, then what is?
I don't know what is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But look, I sorry, Ian, I think this topic is great, and we should actually even have that one.
Yeah, we're not going to divulge too much. Exactly, we need to stick to the point, and obviously we are coming near the end of this show, and I do believe that David has the right to give a rant before we finish. We will close up. We will finish off after that. I just want to personally say, obviously, before we do close, it's been great actually for a first episode. It's been really good. It's been great. For everyone that's seen us live. I'm getting some feedback here on the social media and on a personal level as well. So it's thank you to everybody that's been watching. And it's great to know that people are actually looking forward to a second show, and that they're already throwing suggestions in. So to anybody that's commented on the Nerd to Know Media side of things, for you, Dara, you've been checking that out. Just want to say personally, a big thank you to all of you, because we did put a lot of effort into this.
Yep.
We're not going away after this one. That's all I'll say.
There's more to come, and again, I want to echo those sentiments. Like, it's great to see the chat being so active. Thanks for everyone who took time to check out the show. Again, apologies for the technical hiccups. Again, it's the first time we've actually rolled this out and had all the documentation and screen shares and stuff like that. So we have that sorted now for the next couple of shows. So thank you so much for everyone who took time out to check us out.
100%.
Yeah, please subscribe, etc. There's a lot of shows on our networks that I think you guys should check out. If you find that you like personalities like oddly myself, or more likely Ian or Derek, please check out shows that they're involved with. I think we got some great things going on. This is really the start. This is really the ground that we're starting to build, and we'd love to have you aboard. And how cool is it to say, hey, I was there for episode 1. I was there for the beginning of these podcasts. We love to have you. We love your insight, and we want to make this a show for you guys.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's the fun. As I said, we're tackling topics that most people don't know about, or may only surface amount. And we're going to go as crazy and deep as it can. That's because I grew up listening to Coast to Coast AM. I love the higher side chats. I love all these shows. I read all these crazy books, so I want to talk about it. Why not?
I agree, and I would just say, for example, David doesn't know this yet, but he's going to be on my podcast next week or the week after. There's no choice. He has a wrestling show. David, why don't you mention the wrestling show that you have, just to give it a little
Oh yeah, absolutely. Derek and I have a show called The Wrestling Rewind, which you can find on Nerd to Know Media. You can find it across Twitch, YouTube, iTunes, etc. We like to go back in time and look at things. Sometimes if there's news, like this past week, we'll cover that. And I think it's just a cool way for you guys to get some information and some insights from, shall I say, both sides of the Atlantic. That's what I love most about doing the show with you guys. It's so cool for me to not just have an Americocentric view. I actually get to see what other people on the other side of the quote unquote pond think. And that's invaluable to me. And it's enriched my life, quite frankly.
Well, I will wait patiently for my invite, as I told Dara, onto that show.
I'm looking for. I don't know what I've signed up for, but apparently I'm in. So yeah. I'm in.
Don't worry, it's coming in. It's going.
I know. No, but all joking aside, it's true. The Nerd to Know Media. I'm very happy to be a part of this group now, especially with this particular podcast. It's it's been great. And let me just kind of thank Dara, especially for all the hard work that he puts in behind the scenes, because, guys, what you're seeing on screen right now from the guy at the very bottom, he's the guy doing all this production and putting everything that you see in front of you and putting up the information. So even though you said thank you, Ian, for coming up with the idea, listen, when you have an idea, you've got to have someone that can execute it. So in fact, multiplied by 2 in particular, I will give you thanks just as much as you gave me, because I think it's a great concept. Like I said, this can be like a free Patreon for everybody at the end of the show that can just hear us shooting the shit and kind of thanking everybody involved. It's going to get a lot better.
Oh yeah.
I'd like to think it was professional anyway, but it's going to get a lot better.
It is, and the more deeper the topic, the more time we have, the better it'll get as well, and the more involvement. Like I have to say, I love when people chat in. It always adds a bit of flavor to the show. So anyone who did chat in makes it worthwhile.
Absolutely, and we'll start getting stuff then. Down the road, we'll start kind of rewarding people. So stick with us. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Stick
Absolutely.
with us.
But guys, before we go, Dave, please give us your rant.
Rant time.
You know what? I'm not even going to rant because I don't think they deserve it. But yeah, I just want to make sure you two are aware. You know what To the Stars Academies is, right? You understand the basic concept. It's Tom DeLonge, and you can watch his. Again, I'm gonna shout out the Joe Rogan Experience podcast, because even when he was on there, Rogan was like, "Are you kidding me? Because really, you're a rock star, so the CIA came to you."
Rogan definitely works for the government, doesn't he? Because he always,
Well, no, I won't say Rogan does. I will say that his podcast has changed to a way where he doesn't want to be demonetized.
Yeah, he definitely gets it up the ass from someone. He's because let's be fair, I've followed him since day one.
You too. Okay, fair enough. Yeah. Okay, you're with me then.
Like, he cuts people off like as soon as they bring up anything. He's part of something. I don't know what it is, but it's definitely not bright. I'd say
I honestly think it's a money thing.
Yeah.
More than anything else. He doesn't want to get his videos demonetized, because you're right. There's early shows when he would talk about psychedelics, when he would have people on. He had Giorgio Tsoukalos on for a couple of shows.
The moon landing.
Yeah.
Changed
moon landing, he would talk about stuff like that, where he would say, "Hey, I don't believe this anymore, but I really want to go in depth and talk about it." The only saving grace that he has right now, in my personal opinion, is he's still a huge fan of John Anthony West. I'm hoping we'll get to the Sphinx and the Pyramid at some point in this podcast.
Almost definitely.
Still a huge fan of Robert Schoch, a huge fan of Graham Hancock. These are people that I grew up following before I even knew about Rogan. So that's cool to me. But let's get to the nitty gritty, because that's what you guys want to hear at this point. No, I'm not going to do a promo like I'm a wrestler.
Wound you up now. Come on, baby.
Oh, no, brother. Come on, brother.
Baby. Let's go.
I was going to say this. For those that don't know, Tom DeLonge was supposedly contacted by people from the CIA, and we've hit this point before. What's that a big sign of? Disinformation. Was hit by these people by the TSA, by the CSA, for a group that he now calls the TTSA. And it was all about UFO research and finding zero-point energy, the kind of nonsense BS that we've heard since day one in this UFO community. Sorry, guys, but it's true. It's when it comes to fruition, I'll believe it. Even Elon Musk wants it, and I've yet to see it. And my issue with this big thing happened October. It basically happened on my birthday of this past year. It happened in October of this past year, when Tom DeLonge made an announcement, because in Congress, they had made some inquiries. Why are we giving funding to this group that's putting out these videos like Derek's showing on screen right now? Why are we giving funding to these groups where they're going after UFO research and they're trying to figure things out, etc.? And what was the tweet that DeLonge put out that saved the stock? We are not a UFO organization. We've never been. I'm paraphrasing, but something along these lines. We are an entertainment company. Well, screw you, Tom DeLonge. That's not what you sold for years on all of the shows that you went on. It was, I have this insider information. Oh my gosh, it feels like Stephen Greer in the early 2000s with all this crack. You pull on Luis Elizondo, who shows up at these conferences wearing bulletproof vests, and he has dogs sniffing for bombs because his life's at risk. It's bull crap. It's always been bull crap. It's a con. Disclosure since day one has been a con. Trust me, if aliens decide that we are hit harmoniously as a global community, they will disclose themselves. They're not going to go through some rock star, if you will, from Blink-182, whose music I actually used to enjoy. That's not going to be your mouthpiece. So you go on all these shows, you present this crap, and you want me to believe you? And I'm going to go a step further, because at this point, screw it. Corey Good for Blue Avians, screw you. David Wilcox supporting Corey Good and the Blue Avians, screw you. David Wilcox pretending to be the reincarnation of Edgar Casey. If there's ever been stolen valor, I don't know how much more you could get than stealing the valor of an amazing psychic like Edgar Casey. So screw you. Corey Good, David Wilcox, Elizondo, Tom DeLonge, screw you. And I think that's all I have to say on the topic.
And I'm just going to go on record saying screw Hillary Clinton as well.
Well, there you go. I didn't think we were going to get into a rant today, but there we go, guys. That was crazy.
That's a hell of a rant. You just cut a promo on all those guys.
Oh, man.
You know what? I love it.
Fantastic.
Pen up for years.
Fantastic. But yeah, I think that's it, Ian. I think we're after hitting time.
Yeah, we have hit time. We're going to kind of close it out now by again. I personally want to thank nerdtoknowmedia, which I'm obviously a part of now with you guys. Thanks for having me on board, Dara. It's been great fun. Obviously, we do a podcast together as well. Which, if people are into the world of professional wrestling, and especially I guess nostalgia wise, they should go and check out the Four Podmen, which I'm sure you'll agree.
Yep.
Dara is one of the main. There's only four of us, so he's definitely one of the main guys on there. But so go and check out some of our back catalogue of topics that we talk about, from the Monday Night Wars to the Intercontinental title to the career of Kurt Angle, and upcoming soon the career of Triple H. Which will be interesting. Can you say that
again? I just love the way you pronounced that. It was very William Regal-esque.
Which one? Triple H.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
Yeah. Well, don't forget, I come from a British wrestling background. All of us Irish wrestlers come from we come from Britain. In terms of our education. Britain, it's okay, David. It's all right.
I love it.
That's the way we talk. But I just want to say thank you to you guys as well for getting this stuff off the ground. I would like to think it's going to be a big success, and evidently with the amount of people that are interested already, it's success beyond we thought initially. So
definitely,
everybody that took the time out today to listen, once again, thank you very much. And yeah, we're going to be back. The darkness is going nowhere.
Yeah, and just again, FC just popped this up in the chat there. Great show. Next week again. We'll let you know. The best way to go over, like our Facebook page, Nerd to Know Media YouTube channel, and all the information will be given out when we know. So we're going to try 2 weeks. So not next Friday, the Friday after, but we'll see how it goes. All right.
We'll put it up. We'll try and get it up on. I know Facebook polls and stuff like that are gone.
We'll figure a way around it. I will figure a way around it.
We will figure a way, and we will make sure that every vote counts, because the one thing I don't like doing is deceiving people. And we have a similar platform with the Podmen.
Unlike the government with all the UFO files that we talked about today.
Exactly.
Fuck you, Hillary Clinton. Yeah,
she was the disclosure president. I don't want to get into it, but let's just, Tony Podesta.
Yeah,
what have happened? We would have had fake disclosure.
Well, look, on that note, guys, we'll wrap it up there. We're going to end the stream before we get, suicided. And
I won't take that. I will take care of you guys. It's okay.
Fair enough. Well, guys, thanks for
y'all are across the ocean. You're safer than I am.
Fair.
Well, I'll take care of Dara.
Well, that's fair. That's it. That's all we can do. Dave, just hop in that UFO behind you and you'll be good.
I'm off. Barney and Betty Hill this nonsense.
All right, guys. Well, look, for everyone in the chat, I hope you enjoyed it. We'll talk to you next week or next time here on From the Dark. If you like the other shows, check out Nerd to Know Media. All the shows we do are fantastic. And we'll see you at the next edition. So, bye, guys.